Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. Today, we're going to get into something pretty cool. We're talking about the Northern Mockingbird.
Awesome.
Yeah, we've got this excerpt. It's called Pasted Text, and it's all about this amazing bird. You know, we think of bird songs, and they're melodic, but pretty standard, right?
Right.
But the Northern Mockingbird, this little guy, he's not just a singer. He's like a whole avian impressionist. Did you know they can mimic like over 200 different sounds?
It's really incredible the range that they have.
Yeah, from other birds to car alarms, even human voices sometimes.
Yeah.
So we're going to break down what makes this bird so unique. Like, how do they look? Where do they hang out? How do they act?
Right.
And we're going to even get into like why this bird is such a big deal in our culture.
I'm excited to dive into all of that. And I think a good place to start is actually with the name.
Okay, yeah. Northern Mockingbird, pretty
No,
straightforward.
it is. But the scientific name, Mimus polyglottos, it means many-tongued mimic.
Wow, it's pretty spot on.
It is. And it emphasizes that this mimicry, it isn't just a fun fact. It's like really important for how they survive and how they communicate.
Okay, so many-tongued. That makes total sense. But mimicking car alarms, I mean, is that like a mating call? What's the deal with that? And how do they even learn to do that?
That's the big question, right? Researchers are still trying to figure out all the details, but the thinking is it's probably a mix of instinct and learning.
Okay.
So young mockingbirds, they probably learn by just, listening to all the sounds around them, and then they start imitating them, which I guess explains why they can pick up such a crazy variety of sounds.
Yeah, it really makes you wonder, like, what's going on in that little bird brain? It's not just mimicking, it's processing these super complex sounds. It's wild. But you know what I'm thinking? If you just saw this bird, you wouldn't guess it had such a crazy vocal talent.
No, you're totally right. Visually, they're not the most flashy birds out there.
Right.
They've got that kind of sleek gray coat, kind of a lighter vest underneath, and when they fly, you see these flashes of white on the wings, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah.
But unlike a lot of other bird species, the male and female northern mockingbirds, they basically look the same.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not much visual difference.
Yeah.
And that might have something to do with their, mating strategies and how they defend their territory.
Interesting. So they're blending in visually, but standing out vocally. That's a cool strategy.
Exactly. And speaking of blending in, their coloring actually helps them adapt to all sorts of different places.
Oh, yeah. Where do they live exactly?
Well, you can find them all the way from southern Canada down to Mexico.
Wow.
And they live year-round in a good chunk of the U.S. Plus, they're not picky about where they set up shop. Suburbs, parks, gardens, you name it. I've even seen them on the edges of forests.
Wow.
Basically, if there's a spot to perch and sing, they're there.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So they're adaptable. But I've heard they're not just these like happy-go-lucky songbirds. They've got a little bit of an attitude, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Especially when it comes to their territory. They are fierce defenders, particularly during breeding season.
Oh, I bet. All those songs come in handy, right?
Absolutely. The males use that huge song repertoire, all those 200-plus songs we talked about, to attract mates and also to warn off any rivals. It's basically a never-ending singing competition.
Wow. High stakes.
Mm.
But it's not just singing, right? I've heard they're not afraid to get a little, well, physical, like dive bombing and stuff.
Yeah, you don't want to mess with a mockingbird protecting its nest. They've been known to dive bomb intruders, even humans who get a little too close.
So admire them from afar. Got it.
Exactly. It's better to enjoy their feisty spirit from a safe distance.
Good advice.
Mm-hmm.
But clearly we humans are pretty captivated by this bird. I mean, it's the state bird for how many states? 5?
5, that's right.
Arkansas, Florida, Mississippi, Tennessee, and Texas. That's a pretty big deal.
It is, and of course, we can't forget the literary connection. To Kill a Mockingbird.
Oh, yeah. Such a classic book. I remember learning about it in school. Like the mockingbird in that story, it's not just a bird, it's a symbol, right?
Absolutely.
Innocence, protecting the vulnerable. It adds a whole other layer to appreciating this bird, you know?
It does. Just like the mockingbird uses its voice to defend itself, the characters in the book, they're all about standing up for what's right, even when it's hard.
Wow, that's deep. So the Northern Mockingbird, amazing mimic, adaptable, feisty defender, and a cultural icon. It's crazy how much we can learn from paying attention to the creatures we see every day.
I completely agree. And we've talked about what they mimic and how they do it, but here's a thought. We haven't really touched on why they do it.
That's true.
Is it all instinct? Or is there something more going on, something we don't fully understand yet, like maybe a deeper level of communication or even like cognitive function?
You've got me thinking now. There's so much we still don't know about the natural world. Next time I hear a bird singing, I'm going to be listening a lot closer. It might just be a mockingbird showing off its latest impression.
You never know.
Thanks for joining us for another deep dive. We'll catch you next time.
See you then.